Welcome back to the Jupiter podcast. I'm your host, Tom Franklin, and today we have on the powerful, the young, the ambitious Daniel Lee Barnett from the Mythical Legends podcast. He's an author, he's a researcher, he does Bigfoot conferences all over the world. In England, he set up his own. He's all over the place. He's an up and coming name in the field, and I'm so very grateful that he decided finally, because he is very busy, to grace us with his presence. So if you keep finding yourself coming back to the Jupiter podcast, please do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and click that bell notification button at the bottom so you can get all your favorite content as it comes out. You can also find me on Rumble. You can also find me on Spotify. You can also find me on Podbean. If you're looking for some merchandise, boom, got you covered. You can go down to the link below, click on it, get yourself a hat, get yourself a t-shirt, get yourself a mug, get yourself a poster. So, with all that being said, you can also find me every Wednesday. I have a live every Friday. The regular podcast drops, and I also do some highlight videos. That way, you guys can see like the thing that made me like go wow or shock me as I was recording with my favorite guests. So, with all that aside, let's welcome to the Eye of Jupiter podcast, Mr. Len. I did his name backwards. Daniel Lee Barnett.
Hey, bud, how's things?
I wanted to call you Laniel B.
Uh,
Larnett or something.
I'm like That's just ridiculous, Tom. That's just ridiculous, mate. How's things?
Oh, the things are things, man. How's it over there in sunny England?
It's certainly not sunny right now. It's getting very very cold and very very dark very very early. So it's just grim, Tom. Just grim, mate.
Oh, it's the same thing over here, but it's the opposite. It just gets less sunny. I'm here in, Mexico, and cloudy Mexico, I guess we could say. And we are daytime highs about 27 degrees even right now. So it's hot all year round down here, dude.
Nice, mate. Nice.
You've been really busy, dude. So could do me a favor, let everyone know who you are, a little bit about yourself, and where we can find you, buddy.
So, my name is Daniel Lee Barnett, and I'm from the podcast Mythical Legends. And I've been running this podcast for around about a year and a half now. And you can find that podcast on Spotify, you can find it on Amazon. I found out one day. You can find it on iTunes, all sorts of things. And then I have a book out called My Bigfoot Life, and that is a book that I based on my first year of research. And then following my book, should be out by the end of this year, I'm hoping, will be the My Bigfoot Life documentary that we have been filming over the past year or so here in the UK and over in the US in Seattle, Washington. Um, and so we've been very very busy with that, and then I've done all sorts of conferences this year. I was recently at the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference. That was incredible, absolutely incredible. And I'm now running my own conference, as you said earlier, Tom, and I've got my third annual cryptid conference coming up in May. And I've got all different Facebook groups online where you can come and visit, and you can also visit me on my website on mythicallegends.co.uk.
Awesome. Do me a favor, give me all those links after this, that way I can put them in the description. That way people can go ahead and find your
Definitely,
stuff. All right, man.
definitely.
So I first met you about a year ago.
It
I was
was.
actually on with your father because you were new and your dad was like, being a dad.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
shared some of my stories with you. And so, hmm, my first question is, okay, when people think of Bigfoot, Sasquatch, forest people, they normally do not think of the British Isles. What's it like over there when it comes to reports? Or what kind of reports are you getting, dude?
So basically, over in the UK, it's very different on how people view Bigfoot. So let's say in the US, and you walk out in a street, about 80% someone is gonna know what Bigfoot is, or they may have seen one, or if I was driving around the Olympic National Forest, someone is gonna know what Bigfoot is. And then once kind of we move on from that, then will be much better. But in the UK, I'm not sure anyone. You are very rare to find one person that would be kind of into Bigfoot or looking for Bigfoot. That's rare. So kind of people who actually are interested in it, you go, there's not many reports. However, there are some up and down the country. So you've got different people collecting different reports. So you've got the majority up in Scotland. You've got some down south in Dartmoor, in Cornwall, Devon, and then you've got kind of some spreaded around the country. And then there's a famous forest called Cannock Chase over here, where are supposed Bigfoot sightings there. So you do have them spotted around, nowhere near as much than you guys have in the US, but
Mhm.
we do have some sightings. What they are, I don't know. And the land that we have over here, yeah, it's not much compared to what you guys have over in the US. But I've
Right.
had the pleasure of seeing what you guys have over in the US. And it's actually our forests are very similar. Very similar. I was walking up a mountain in the Olympic National Forest, and it was just like here, apart from a, a lot more steep. Um, so you've got kind of your similarities, but differences. So, well, obviously, over in the US, you've got miles and miles and miles and just a wilderness. We haven't here, but
Mhm.
we do have a significant amount enough of land, especially if you go into the theory of them going underground, then
Oh,
that's a theory that some people have.
what is your? I mean, what started you? I mean, I know you're a very young man. I do know this. I'm probably gonna have to put on here that you are a young man, so to make sure that we cover all our bases. How old are you, so I can make sure I'm legal eagle over here on YouTube?
So I'm 15 years old, mate. So when
15.
you when
Wow.
you met me, I think I was four. Yeah, I was. I must have been. I was 14 when you met me.
Well, 15-year-old young men from England, I'm normally are interested in like video games, girls. They're interested in going roller skating at the roller rink. I don't know what you guys do over in England. Maybe counting down the days before you go to the pub and get a pint. What is what what is the thing that sparked you, being such a young man, into this particular realm of, like, mythical creatures, to go ahead and tag your podcast there?
So this is probably my favorite story of all. Okay. And this is the story that most people are not expecting. Is I was walking past my granddad's room and I saw a TV program on. And I walked in that room and I sat down next to him. I had my cousin, I had my sister. My sister was, oh, try and remember what it's at now. Probably 11, and my cousin was probably 9 at the time. And we were all sitting in this room, no idea what I was watching, but it was just an interesting program. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Um, and I was watching it, and then there was a guy that popped up on the screen with the name of Ryan RPG Golombesky on the screen come up. Um, and this program I found out to be Expedition Bigfoot. Now, it could have been any program in the world. No, it was Bigfoot. So from that point, I then once we watched that episode, we then watched another one, and then I came home and watched another one, and then just kept going, and then it grew from there. So then after I watched every episode about 50 times, no joke, We then decided, do you know what? Let's go out in the forest. My cousin and sister didn't like that idea as much as I did, but hey ho. So we went out in the forest, and I took my nan with me. For you guys, it's my grandmother. um, all right, it's my grandmother. And I took my granddad as well, and we all went out in the forest looking for deer, and we were learning how to research deer. After we did our first expedition out in the forest, it then turned into a year of researching deer, and we called it Expedition Deer, where we would learn how to cast deer prints, learn how to take eDNA from prints. We would learn how to use thermals. We would learn how to use blah 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 out in the forest, and that took up a year, which then obviously grew and grew and grew. Now I'm trying to remember when we had our podcast. I'm trying to remember because I think you guys were our second podcast. I think,
Oh my
or
lord! So
third.
it had to
Might have been
be
second or third.
maybe
Yeah,
October, November of 23, something like that. Maybe even before that.
yeah, I think so. So that would mean that. Have you ever heard of my eDNA?
I've heard that I think you posted somewhere that you were capturing it and sending it to a lab, but I do not know all the ins and outs.
Right. Okay. So do you want me to go that way, or
Absolutely.
do you want me to stop?
No, please.
Yeah. Okay. So from that point, so once we finished the year of Expedition Deer, I started my podcast kind of halfway through that. Then we decided, do you know what? We're gonna go and do this for real. And I turned to my grandmother. I went, look, let's go out in the forest looking for a real cryptid, and let's go. So we chose our local big cat that has been spotted. I went, cool, that's that's brilliant. So we picked a forest. We picked a forest that was close to a water source,
Right.
and it had
Why is that important,
um.
Daniel? Why is that important? Why is it important that it's close to a water source?
So then animals can drink,
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay.
and this water source, okay, and just to say to you that it's nothing like you guys have in the US. It was a stream. That's what we call a water source. So, and that runs all the way through our town, and it ran past this forest. Now, this forest, Tom, was a mile forest. Okay, that was how small this forest
Okay.
is. So we walk in this forest expecting to find nothing. All right. So we're walking down a path, and we're hearing noises, and it was like, oh my god, it's deer. Now then, I'm then walking up a hill. I've got Nan about uh 20 feet behind me. So I'm walking now over the ridge, and I suddenly feel a tap on my shoulder. I go, "What's up?" Expecting, oh my god, we've dropped the water bottle or something. To going, Daniel, what's this? And I go, what? What's what? And I look down, and Tom, we're stood there for maybe 3 minutes without speaking to each other, and I'm just staring down at the ground. It's an 18-inch footprint that was in front of us.
Like a humanoid type footprint or like a large cat that you were looking for?
Big footprint, like a big footprint. I've never said to this day that what made that print is Bigfoot. I've never said that, and I
Mhm.
will continue to not, because
Right.
unless I see Bigfoot make that print, I have no idea. Now, using what we had learned through Expedition Deer, I took eDNA and casted the print, and I sent that eDNA off to a lab. without Dad knowing.
Could you break down
And then,
the acronym? I'm sorry, Daniel. Could you break down the
yeah,
acronym EDNA?
yeah, cool. So, eDNA is environmental DNA. So
Okay.
it's where you can take soil and we can test what DNA is inside there.
Okay.
And we sent that off to a lab, and Dad got a phone call from a guy in Switzerland, and he wasn't with me at the time. And this guy was saying, "Hi, we're calling you to talk about your son's eDNA," and Dad went, "Who the hell
What?
is this? Who, who's on the phone? Who's talking
I know
about my
your dad.
son?"
I know your dad is a very funny man.
Yeah, and I'm like, who is this? So, and then Dad came back, and then they arranged a courier to come pick the stuff up, take it. So it took about 6 weeks to kind of for them to go through the whole test process. They said to me and Dad, "You need to manage expectations. The chances of something coming out is like zero." So we wait 6 weeks, and obviously, like I'm contacting them every other day. And I'm going, "How's it going? How's it going? How's it going?" Now, it then gets to the last week, and they go, "We need an extra week." I'm like, "Why?"
That's interesting.
They just went, "We need an extra week of sequencing." I went, "Oh, cool." Now, I was then at my grandmother's, and I was sat down with my grandmother and granddad, and we were kind of just talking. And then I feel my phone vibrate. Oh, it's Dad. Go on the phone, and he goes, "I've just had the results." I go, "Okay." He goes, "They they don't want to send it through until they've spoken to us first. They don't want to send the results without speaking to us." I go, "That's weird. Why can't you just send me through the results without joining me?" And apparently this is what they said to Dad. "Look, we have no idea what's happened. We don't know if you've done anything,
Huh?
or we've actually found something." And the scientist said on the phone, "Your son may have done it. Whatever that means, your son
Right.
may have done it." And then the scientist swore quite a lot of times on the phone to Dad. And then Dad gave me the results. It had human DNA, it had chicken DNA for some weird reason, bird DNA, all sorts. But then it came out with several hits of Great Ape DNA and Old World Monkey DNA. Yeah,
That's crazy, dude. Because to get both of those,
yeah,
in England, because what people don't realize is that England is very rural, even by standards
yeah,
of the East Coast of the United States. It's a small country. I don't know what size it compares to a state in this, maybe Pennsylvania, maybe something like that. And it
yeah.
has about 60 million people. You have Leeds, Manchester, London, of course.
Mm.
It's a very populated island. And to be in a small forest, I don't know which part of England you're in, it's not important, but just the likelihoods of that being not even a probability, but for them to actually be like, that's incredible, dude. And
And
this is
so
just by chance. This is just
I
by
know, mate.
chance.
I know. And the fact that we didn't even have Bigfoot in our heads. That's
Right.
what I keep saying is we didn't even have Bigfoot in our minds. We were looking for a big cat, and we came across this print. Now, my grandmother Nan is not a person for she didn't even believe in Bigfoot, but she went, "Look, I I'm looking at this, and this is a footprint. It's a footprint. Whatever you make it into, it's an indentation that's 18 inches, and it's a footprint."
Right.
Now,
And
if someone has an 18-inch foot walking in that forest, fine, fine. But I'm like, no, no,
Yeah.
no. That's just
And here's another thing that
yeah.
gives it a lot of validity in my eyes, Daniel, is that, in the States, the idea of Bigfoot has been around from at least, the very least, the late 60s. We'll say mid to late 60s. So
Mm,
there are people who have been fakers, and they have been, either they've outed themselves or they've been outed by others. But that's not a thing in the
mm,
UK. Maybe crop
no,
circles in the UK, maybe that could be outed. But something like Bigfoot,
mm.
that rings a lot of bells for me, dude. That's incredible. So when that happened, what was your reaction? You were like, okay, now I'm going to dive head first into this, or I'm going to, kind of collect myself. What is your thought
So
process?
at that point, me and Nan had already been discussing, and we were like, okay, what's our game plan? So before I go on, so the hits that we had, I had 5 different samples that I sent. 2 were from that actual print. The other 3 were from other indentations, weren't as clear, but indentations 20 minutes away from this big one. Old World Monkey DNA and Grey Ape DNA came back in them as well. So now, not only have we got several, we now have a path of where this thing was walking.
Uh-huh.
And it was walking along the streamline.
Which is why I was hinting. I guess I was trying to jump the shark there. And you were
Yeah.
like, no, Tom, I'm going to not jump the shark, because
Yes.
being a
Yes.
researcher as yourself, what normally happens, as far as I understand, you're the researcher, I'm just the medium, I'm just a podcaster. But from what I heard, the information I heard, they seem to, at least any type of paranormal activity in the forest, whether it be Dogman, Bigfoot, Wendigos, even those seem to always be around some type of water source, an actively moving water source. So
Yeah.
that also backs that up. So
Yeah.
what did you start to do? What was your, like, you're like, okay, I found this. I got a pathway. Old world ape, and what was the old one? Primitive primate,
Uh,
or whatever the word
yeah. Yeah.
right, or something of
So
that nature.
what we then did, now this is a mile forest, okay? It took us to August of this year, so a year to do the whole forest. Whole forest. Took us a year to go through every little inch of it. So, during that find, there was lots of stuff that we found.
Okay.
Structures, shadows that was
That shadows are super interesting, dude. That's super.
now,
I had George Lunsford on, and he was like, he went out with Harley Owens, and he goes,
yeah,
Harley Owens goes, there's one right there, and George goes, no, dude, that's a shadow. He goes, trust me, it's not. And then
mm,
George just ran towards the shadow, and then it stood up or whatever it did and ran down the hill. That's interesting.
yeah,
Shadows, interesting.
and say this shadow, whatever it was, it looks more like a big cat to me. Um, I can't say whether it's true or not. I think it can be easily disproven, but I think there's a little bit of investigating to do. Now, what what basically happened with that? Um, my grandmother was at the top of the ridge, and it was me and my cousin. And my cousin at the time was 10. Okay, so we're moving towards this tree structure. There's 15 feet in the air between 2 trees. You never find that. Now, if it was by the road, I would get it because it's human, and that's what we have all the time here. But you won't go through hassle to climb down a ridge and go downhill and hurt your legs to do that. No, you that's just so. My cousin William was taking pictures, and I was back up with my grandmother, and we then left, and then I stood back with Nan for a bit, and William was acting really odd. Now he had just come out of school, so he was all kind of hyped up anyway. But he started humming, And I'm like, what are you doing? And as the grown-up cousin, I went, shut up, just stop. And he didn't. And he was then acting like, oh, I want to get out of here. I'm like, what's wrong? He wouldn't tell me. Tom, it wasn't until I got home, I had a message from William saying I was scared in that forest. I'm like, oh, okay, right. Now, we are not people. I say this on every podcast, I'm not the paranormal person. I don't go into the paranormal world. But for William, who doesn't believe in Bigfoot, to tell me that he's scared on our local hills, and so then for 2 days following, we both had headaches. Now, for me, I get headaches all the time. They suck. They suck. And it runs in the family. But for William to get a headache, I'm like, and we both had it at the same time for 2 days. And I go, that's weird.
Right.
And I then phoned Nan and went, I'm not saying that this is part of it. It could be a complete coincidence, and it could be a complete kind of, oh, it just happened.
Right.
But that's a bit odd. Now, then I was on a podcast, and I posted that photo of the tree structure. And I was on a podcast, and I saw a comment come up on my phone saying, is that Bigfoot? I go, what? And during the podcast, Tom, I log on to Facebook, and I go, there's a shadow in the background, without knowing. So,
Happens.
about 4 days later, after taking that photo that William took, was a shadow on my phone. And I'm going, that's not kind of fake. That's a shadow. So me and Nan return, and we try to line it up. And Nan spends ages, and I mean ages, crouching down, up, down, trying to move the camera. And I'm using a rope to get down this ridge now. I'm like, right, I need to get down here to see what's down
Oh
here.
my God.
Yeah, I'm like, and now I'm by myself now, so we're still in view, by myself now. I'm like, I need to get down here to see what's down here, and Nan shouts down, going, I can't line it up. When she tilts the camera up, Tom, oh, we realised that this shadow is actually 20 feet in the air, which means it was in the trees.
Wow. What do you think the
What?
implications of that are?
I have no idea. I have no idea. But
And what do you mean by
whatever it
shadow? Do you
was,
mean like an outline of a shadow?
it was an outline with just a black kind of,
Black
and it
mass.
only had, yeah, just it was just a black. Now I can't say now, the sun was setting, so it could have been kind of just reflection, it could have been, but I'm matching things up that don't make sense, that I can't piece together like a puzzle. And because I'm autistic, I love to piece things together. I love things to work, and this couldn't, and that bothers me, and it bothers me to this day that I can't piece together
Oh, so your
why.
autism your autism makes you go the type of autism that you have where you are on the spectrum makes you go why
Yeah,
and then when it doesn't line up you got to
in
keep
that
going
sense.
out there, you got to keep going out searching for answers, and it
And in
makes
that sense,
you
yeah,
a person who's very motivated. And interesting
yeah,
that you took that disability that you have and then came in that so your initial watching your granddad's program with what happened to you combined with your affliction and turned it into what it is now, the Mythical
yeah.
Legends podcast. That's
And
incredible, dude.
that's how it's grown. And we
Wow.
found bone pits. We found, now that's how much it's gone, and that's how. Then in January, I'm just gonna keep going along the storyline now.
Go for it,
So
buddy.
in January, I had a message from Marty from the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference, and runs the cruise and runs going, "Do you want to come and be a guest at the conference?"
Wow.
I think my reply was no words at all. I think, and then I think I screamed. I think I screamed on the phone. I think Marty actually had it recording for my reply. Now
Wow.
that was amazing. That was amazing that kind of that came in. And then I then got approached by a film production. And I'm good friends with or my nan is good friends with the director of the company.
Wow.
And they go, "Do you know what? Let's make a documentary." I go, "Okay,
About this part in England.
cool,
That's wow.
cool."
Oh,
So
cool, dude.
Monica, the director, goes, "Right, I need you to put together a team." So I put together a team, and I give Ronnie LeBlanc from Expedition Bigfoot Ring. I give RPG from Expedition Bigfoot and Finding Bigfoot Ring, and I get in contact with Renee Holland as well.
Wow.
And they come over to the UK, and
No
we film,
kidding, dude.
and we film in that same spot. We film in that same spot,
Damn, dude.
and we do that, which
Heck
was
yeah.
incredible. And the only reason why I can say that is because we said it at a conference that I then ran at the end of April with kind of a meet and greet and that. So we did that, and then when we were at, and this is gonna sound really weird, we were at a restaurant having our kind of last meal together, and I was with Monica and RPG, and I was ordering food at the bar with them. And RPG went, "Wouldn't it be cool if we went to Seattle, Washington?" And me and Monica look at each other going, "All right then, let's do it."
Looks like we're going to Seattle. Let's get some the birth of Starbucks. Let's get some coffee.
And that's how it unrolls. That's how it kind of unraveled. And that is what that's part of the documentary. And so that's loads of things have happened in that kind of bit.
Right.
And say the only thing that I'm allowed to say, we all went to Seattle believing but not knowing. My dad, Monica, Nan, Gramps. So Gramps didn't believe in Bigfoot at all. We went there, and we've all come back knowing.
Deal. Oh man, that's a teaser. So okay, this is what I'm going to put you on the spot now. Whenever it does come out, you're going to have to send it to me so I can actually watch it, or at least tell me where to go. And then
Yeah.
we're going to sit down and discuss that, because you, my friend, are not only an investigator, you are a hell of a salesman. And I'm enjoying every bit of that. Now, doing what you're doing, have you had any contacts with other, say, Bigfoot investigators in Europe at all, or is it all the States or Canada?
So I've done a lot there's a couple. So there's a guy up north called Andy McGrath, who I've been in contact with, that does a lot. We used to do lots of UK Bigfoot, and now does lots in Loch Ness. Then there's a couple kind of in mid country. So you've got someone named Deborah Hatswell, who does a lot of the stuff in the UK and deals with a lot of the reports.
Maybe you can send me
And then
those
I've
links
got,
too to their stuff. That way I can get them. That way they can get some shine on what they do. If you are telling me these people are legit and you enjoy then I'm going to go ahead and
yeah.
I'm going to have to promote it. You're going to tie my hands here, Daniel. Please send me their links as well. Once you get off here, just pop
Will
them to
do.
me, dude, because I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, will do, mate. Will do. And then I then have a very dear friend of mine, Jonathan Downs, who helped me publish my book. Does a lot with the conferences with me. Runs the Centre of 14 Zoology, which includes Ken Gerhard, the those kind of people. So he's kind of
So cool, dude.
big big, let's say. And then I've built my own team. So I've got kind of a guy named Chris Alsford, who's a Bigfoot researcher who's in the documentary, and helps me run the conference in the UK. And so yeah, there's loads that now have built up and come out of caves now. Now all this has happened,
Right. So
they've all
you
kind
kind
of
of
risen.
accidentally with your EDNA kind of accidentally spearheaded the search or the research portion. Not saying that these guys haven't started it, but you kind of like cut through some of the stuff because
Mm,
being over here in this area, I'm not in the States, I'm in Mexico, but fair enough. I know a lot of people up that way. I'm
mm,
going to be interviewing MK Davis soon enough. Yeah, I don't know if you know
nice.
who MK Davis is.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get Martin Groves on forever, but he's also a very busy man like yourself. I've had on Daryl Denton. I've had on Ron Moorhead. These huge, like names in the field, and it seems like you are kind of like for the UK, you are now becoming the connection. Now, don't let your head swell up now, but at the same time, how is that making you feel like you kind of stumbled onto something like of this magnitude? How does that make you feel personally?
So, well, now as a law, if people know who I am in the least egotistical way possible, um, we I've been through two different kinds of Bigfoot life. Let's say I've met some of the best people in the Bigfoot world, like yourself, and I've met the most horrendous people in the Bigfoot world. I've met both sides.
No matter what you're doing, like being a musician, a comedian, myself, you always run into this kind of thing. It's kind of human nature,
Yeah,
and it can be being a young man of like yourself. How did you? Okay, when that happened, I'm sorry. This is I guess, a bit of a question in between to kind of
that's fine.
break the middle of what you're talking about. But how do you, as a young man being 15, how are you able to distinguish those differences? Is it just like the attitude, or their bravado? What is it that makes you kind of maybe filter those people out now?
So I have a very good team around me that now kind of all watches out online, and that unfortunately, it got to a point where someone got into our inner circle and completely blew it up, completely kind of, and yeah, and it's all over online, which is kind of ridiculous, and it's just people that just like to do their own thing and just yeah, and but I think I I it, it's the way of I've got the people around me, and I've got some quite good bodyguards, let's say, that when someone tries to go for me, they'll
Wow,
stand up and they'll go, yeah. Tom,
that
I've
it's at
had
that level. It's at that
yeah,
level. Oh my god, dude.
um, yeah, yeah. I've had people try and kind of control me, let's say. And I've met these people in person, and it's all over online. But these people, the people that put this online, just makes them look silly. Because I'm like,
It's so sad.
what,
It's so
what,
sad,
what,
dude.
what I'm doing is harming no one. And compared to other children of my age, what they're doing in town right now is horrendous, horrendous.
Right,
So
right.
I'm like, I think I'm doing the best thing in. in kind of my school, let's say, and say I'm also not in school currently right now, and because it's too hard, I can't step through the gate. I can't I can't put my foot through the gate because it's too hard. But I can do this.
Got you, buddy. So would you do some homeschooling or something like that to catch
So
up? And
I'm currently doing homeschooling at the moment, and it's my exam year this year, so I'm doing most of my revision at home, and then I'm gonna go in and do my exams, and then I'm finished. So, but
boom.
a lot of people online say he doesn't have autism. He doesn't have autism at all. And I'm like,
You,
okay, okay, and that's just where
all those
because I can't.
online doctors, yeah, all those online
There you go.
doctors. Yeah.
Someone who claims to be the best doctor in the world tells me that I don't have autism, and I'm like, perfect. But
Right.
that's where the Bigfoot world is, and that's it's just
So
silly though. It's silly online, and that's where. But it's bound to happen, and it's just kind of getting rid of them and continuing with
right.
what we do
So
best.
that was going to be my advice towards you. Being a young man like yourself, and there's going to be people like that, you're being confronted with it at a very young age.
Mm,
This is what I think is happening. So I think another friend of mine, I won't mention him, is having the same type of issues of sorts. I don't know if it's true or not. He was on a very large podcast, and then kind of shortly after that, he's kind of like stepping away a bit because it got too much for him. But this is
mm,
what I say. What I say is that if you're getting those type of ad hominem attacks, or whether it be physical in nature or whatever it is, I hope it's not, of course.
mm,
That means you're on the right path. And
mm,
so my little bit of advice to you is push forward, be careful, but don't ever stop what you're doing, dude. Because I think being someone like you, being where you are in the world is very beneficial to what it is
mm.
that we're trying to do, because that's what I'm trying to do in this podcast, to shine light on things that are not accepted, as well as, I don't know, if you want to be a mean person and try to hurt somebody, that means you're a bad person, and you're gonna, in the end, you're gonna lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A positive attitude is the way to go about it. And they don't understand what kind of mission you're on. I don't know you that well. This is maybe the second, third time we've actually talked, like where I can
Mm.
hear your voice. But to know, I've seen your post. I see him once in a while, and I like, oh, that dude ain't, you ain't stopping Daniel, dog. This dude is he's on a mission, and it's freaking awesome, dude. I was just from and this is my group of individuals, the people who are in my little area of what we do over here in the Eye of Jupiter. We're gonna support you, I promise you. And if there's any bad eggs, I'll get them out of there too. All right, man.
That'd be
So
amazing, mate. That's amazing.
don't worry about it, dude. Don't you ever worry about it. You keep doing what you're doing. I think it's fucking fantastic. I think it's seriously, no shit. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thanks,
so
mate.
after
Thanks.
this comes out, hopefully it comes out by the end of this year, beginning next year. What's next for you, dude? What's next on the docket for Mr. Daniel Lee Barnett? I want to say Bennett for some reason all the time. What's next on the docket for you, buddy?
So my next, it looks like now that I've just been signed up to do 2 TV series for next year. So my
No,
whole January and February will now be filming out in different locations. I think I'm going to start at the bottom of the UK, and then I'm going to have to fly right to the top of the UK to come back home. So I'm literally doing stuff all over the place. I will
damn,
then
dude.
be I will then be returning to the US next year, and I am going to be headlining the Pennsylvania Festival run by Gwendolyn Purcell, and we have RPG there, Ronnie LeBlanc there, Brian King Sharp, and I will be
Mhm.
over there for that conference. We will also be doing a screening of my documentary there as well. And then I've got some other conferences that are currently in the works, let's say. And then I've got a couple of conferences here in the UK. Should have my next book out by next year as well.
Dude.
And then
And wait, hold on. And people do not think you have autism. This is what it is, guys. People don't understand it, that it's different things. Some people are high functional, low functional, but you're high functioning. But at the same time, that autism makes you go, yeah. You put everything in your order, and then you keep man.
Which is why, so
awesome.
then I've got a very big month of me, because now it looks like that I'm going to be going to Cannes Film Festival as well next year, because our documentary trailer got shown there last year, and it was a massive success. They loved it. So it looks like that I have to be going next year to kind of show off the doc, and then I've then got my 3-day conference in May with over 15 US researchers coming over, and over 30 guest speakers. So, and my organizers go, Daniel, can you stop getting guest speakers, please? I'm going, no chance.
Nope.
No chance. No chance.
Ain't happening, brother. All right, man. Before I get you up out of here, one more time, please do me a favor. Promote whatever you want to promote. Tell everybody, where we can find you on social media and things like that. And let's go ahead and do that, buddy.
So, so you can find me obviously on the Mythical Legends podcast. We have our audio podcast on Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and then we have our video podcast on YouTube. We then have our groups on Facebook. So we have the Mythical Legends podcast and expedition group. I think it's also now called My Bigfoot Life. We then have a Bigfoot research group online that's ran by my team, where you can come in, talk about anything you want. And then I have my Crypticon groups for anyone who is interested in coming to the conference. I think it's called CCUK. So if you want to come into those groups, you are more than welcome. And then I then own a website called mythicallegends.co.uk, which will have all my upcoming appearances, will have my books on there, everything about me, all about the EDNA, all about everything else. And it will all have my new stuff on there. And then you can, if you wanted to actually meet me in person, I've got all the stuff here in the UK. And then I will be over in the US, and I'm about to possibly get some other big things confirmed for next year. And I will just highlight now, anyone who is in America who is looking to go on a cruise next year, we have the Marty and Nikki are doing an amazing job with the Caribbean Bigfoot cruise. So if you're interested, head on to that cruise. I'm not going to say another damn word. And yeah, so I'm doing an awful lot of work next year, and it's probably blowing Dad's head.
Oh, you poor father. Tell him I said hello, by the way. Hopefully he might remember me. But
he will do,
right,
mate.
man. That's incredible, dude, man. I know that you've been a very busy person and you took time out of your day to come on, and I want to, thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing so, man.
No worries.
All right, man.
No worries.
Keep up the good work and keep us informed, and please do me a favor and send all those links so I can get them out there.
Will do. Definitely, mate. Thanks, Tom.
All right, buddy. Catch you later.
Thanks, mate.
So that was Daniel Lee Barnett. If you think you are doing a lot, then you most likely are not. And there's your proof right there. Mr. Daniel Lee Barnett from the Mythical Legends podcast, killing it. From a year ago till now, just to see the continuous progression of what he does is just mind-blowing, and I wish him all the best of luck, and I wish him well in doing what he does. If you keep finding yourself coming back to the iJupiter podcast, please do me a favor, like and subscribe to the channel. You can also find me on Rumble, you can find me on Spotify, you can find me on Podbean, and there's going to be more to come in that as well. I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on, I won't be on X anytime soon. It's a lot of work. Yeah, I'm all over the place. Go ahead and check it out. You got the shirts, you got all those kind of things. Every Wednesday, live podcast. Every Friday, I drop a regular podcast just like this one. And remember, we are the eye and we are aware. Love you all.